All right, ready to dive into a retirement strategy that might just flip your whole financial plan upside down. We're talking tax-free retirement income and using life insurance to make it happen.
Yeah, it's really about changing the way we think about life insurance.
Most people just think about the death benefit, but
Exactly. That's what we're flipping the script on today.
not just buying a policy and crossing your fingers. There's a real strategy involved here.
Absolutely. And the whole thing hinges on the policy loan provision.
So how do we use that to our advantage?
Well, the cash value inside a life insurance policy, that grows tax deferred, right?
Right.
But remember that.
So deferred isn't the same as tax-free.
Right. And if you just take money out of the policy.
You're going to get hit with a big tax bill on those gains.
Exactly. But there is a way to get to that cash value without setting off a taxable event.
So how do we do that?
That's where the policy loan provision comes in.
Instead of just taking money out, you're basically, taking a loan?
A loan against your own cash value and using it like collateral.
I can see people listening and thinking, wait, taking out loans in a retirement? That doesn't sound like a great idea.
You're right, but it's not a typical loan.
So what's so special about this type of loan?
The interest you're charged on that loan, it's offset by the interest you earn on the cash value you used as collateral.
Meaning?
It can work out to a net interest rate of 0.
So it all washes out.
Mm.
But is that guaranteed? What if interest rates go crazy?
It's a valid question, and it goes back to choosing the right policy and managing it properly.
We'll get into all that a little later, but the important thing is,
When it's set up the right way, the interest you earn on your collateral can cancel out the interest you're charged.
so you're getting your hands on your money, tax-free, interest-free, while you're alive. But what about when you pass away? What happens to that loan?
That's when that death benefit kicks in.
Okay, so it covers the loan.
It pays it off, and whatever's left over goes to your beneficiaries tax-free.
Tax-free income while you're alive, and then a tax-free inheritance for your loved ones. That sounds like a win-win.
It really is.
This is starting to make sense, but I gotta ask, what's the catch? Every strategy has a downside, right?
It's not about a catch. It's about really knowing what you're buying into and managing that policy, right?
So it's not about finding the cheapest policy. It's about finding the right policy.
You got it. And that's where having an agent who knows their stuff is so important.
So not just any agent will do.
Right. We'll talk about that more later. But for now, it's important to know that this isn't for everyone.
Who is this best suited for then?
People with higher incomes or folks who want to save more than a Roth IRA, will let them.
Sounds like it's all about finding the right tools to get the most out of your finances.
That's a good way to put it.
This strategy could be one of those tools, especially if you've already maxed out your other options.
You nailed it. But hold on, we got to talk about the potential pitfalls too.
Like what?
The biggest one. Keeping that policy active, it's crucial.
We talked about that death benefit, repaying the loan.
Right. If the policy lapses, all those gains you got from loans could become taxable.
That sounds like a nightmare we want to avoid.
Absolutely. And that's why managing the policy properly is so important. And that starts with understanding the different types of life insurance policies that work with this strategy.
So we've covered the policy loan basics, but there's obviously a lot more to this.
We've just scratched the surface.
We'll dig into choosing the right policy and making sure it doesn't lapse in part 2 of this deep dive. Welcome back. We left off talking about the different kinds of life insurance policies that could work for this tax-free retirement strategy.
Yeah, where do we even begin with that?
Right. So many options. What are the main types we should be looking at?
The two big ones for this strategy are whole life and universal life.
Whole life versus universal life, that's a classic debate. What are the big differences between them?
And how do those differences impact this strategy, right?
Exactly. So let's break it down, starting with whole life. What's the deal with that?
Whole life is all about guarantees, guaranteed premiums,
Okay, so you know what you're paying.
guaranteed death benefit, and guaranteed cash value growth.
So you know exactly what you're getting, both in terms of what you pay and what you get back.
It's often seen as the safer, more conservative choice, but it can also be more expensive upfront.
Higher premiums.
Right. So with whole life, you get that peace of mind.
You know exactly what to expect.
Exactly. Now, on the other side, you have universal life, which is all about flexibility.
Okay, so how's that different?
Premiums and death benefits, they can be adjusted over time.
So you're not locked in.
Nope. And the cash value growth, that's tied to how the market performs.
So there's potential for higher returns, but also more risk.
That's the trade-off, yeah. It's more hands-on.
You can tweak things as you go,
Exactly. But that also means you need to be more involved in managing the policy.
which is where a good agent comes in.
Big time. They can help you navigate the complexities of universal life, make adjustments based on what's going on with you and the market.
So choosing between whole life and universal life, really comes down to your risk tolerance.
Yeah, how much control you want and what you're hoping to achieve.
No right or wrong answer. It's about finding the right fit.
Couldn't have said it better myself, but regardless of which type of policy you choose, the agent you work with makes a huge difference.
Okay, you mentioned that earlier. Finding an agent who really gets this strategy is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. You can't just go with any life insurance agent.
What should we be looking for? What are some red flags?
The biggest one is if they don't really grasp the nuances of using life insurance for this type of retirement income.
So someone who can walk us through every step of the way.
Yeah, someone who can explain it clearly.
What kind of questions should we be asking potential agents?
Ask them specifically about their experience with this strategy. How many clients have they helped?
So we're looking for a track record.
What kind of results have they gotten for those clients?
We want someone who's been there, done that, right?
Right, and then dig into their knowledge of different policies, especially the differences between whole life and universal life.
Can they explain it clearly in a way that makes sense to us?
Exactly, you're looking for a partner.
Not just a salesperson.
Someone who's going to guide you towards the right solution, not just try to sell you something.
Speaking of guidance, we talked about the risk of the policy lapsing. What can we do to make sure that doesn't happen?
First thing, pick a premium you can actually afford, even if things get tough financially.
Don't overextend yourself.
Right, consistency is key if you're always struggling to make those payments.
The policy's at risk.
Exactly, it's better to start with a smaller premium you can consistently pay.
Than to go big and risk losing everything.
And that ties back into those conservative income illustrations.
The ones we talked about earlier.
Work with your agent, have them run projections all the way to age 120.
Wow, we're not expecting to live that long, are we?
No, but it's about being prepared, making sure your plan can handle anything life throws at you.
And those annual policy reviews, those are important too, right?
They're like checkups for your financial health.
Making sure everything is still on track.
You get to see how the policy's performing, talk about any changes in your life, your goals, and make adjustments as needed.
So it's an ongoing conversation, not just a one-time thing.
That's right. So what are we talking about during those reviews?
What are the key things to focus on?
The main thing is looking at how your cash value is growing. Is it on track? Are there any tweaks we can make to boost it?
Making sure we're getting the most out of it.
Then we look at your withdrawal strategy. Are you taking out too much too soon?
Finding that balance between enjoying the money now and making sure it lasts.
Exactly, and we go over your beneficiaries.
Making sure they're still who you want them to be.
Any big life changes, marriage, divorce, new grandkids.
Easy to forget about those details.
It happens. And finally, we talk about any changes in tax laws or what's happening in the market.
Things are always changing.
You got to stay informed and adapt your strategy as needed.
Sounds like communication is key.
Absolutely. You and your agent need to be on the same page.
Diligence and a willingness to adapt.
Those are the keys to making this work in the long run.
This is a lot to take in. What's the one thing you want listeners to remember as we move into the final part of our deep dive?
I want them to feel empowered. This might seem complicated, but the goal is simple. We're giving you more control over your financial future.
Taking control of your retirement.
By understanding how life insurance works and teaming up with the right people, you can build a retirement plan that really works for you, a plan that could give you tax-free income for life.
We've spent the last two parts really getting into the nuts and bolts of this whole life insurance strategy for retirement.
Yeah, all the technical stuff.
But I want to step back for a minute and talk about, the big picture.
How it all fits together in the real world.
Right, because we've said it can be powerful.
But what does that actually look like?
Exactly. So let's talk about real life scenarios. How does this actually play out for people?
One of the most interesting things is how it can potentially outperform those traditional retirement accounts.
So we're not just talking about the tax advantages here.
There's a real chance for growth that could be even better than what you'd see in a 401k or an IRA.
So how does that happen?
Remember how we talked about the cash value in a life insurance policy and how it grows tax-free? Well, when you combine that with taking money out tax-free through those policy loans...
It creates a snowball effect.
Exactly. It just keeps building over time.
So it's like a double tax advantage, no taxes on the growth, and no taxes when you take the money out.
You got it. And this can be a real lifesaver when inflation is high.
Because your money is losing value in those traditional accounts.
But with a life insurance policy,
that cash value keeps growing, protected from inflation.
It's like a built-in safety net.
Especially when you think about how unpredictable inflation can be.
Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future.
But this gives you some peace of mind.
Right, and it's not just about inflation. This strategy can also help when the market takes a nosedive.
Oh, because those traditional accounts are tied to the stock market.
Exactly, but the cash value in a life insurance policy, it's usually much more stable.
So even if the market crashes, your retirement plan doesn't go down with it.
That's the idea. It's all about diversifying.
Not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right, creating a retirement plan that can handle whatever the economy throws at you.
That's smart, but let's be honest. There has to be a downside, right? No strategy is perfect.
Of course, like we've been saying, this isn't a magic bullet,
It's not for everyone,
right? It might not be the best fit for someone who needs access to their money right away.
or someone who's not comfortable with a little risk.
Exactly. This is a long-term strategy. It takes commitment.
You have to be in it for the long haul.
It takes discipline and being willing to work with your agent and adapt as things change.
So it's not a passive investment. You have to be actively involved.
That's right. But for people who want to really maximize their retirement savings,
And minimize those taxes.
this can be a real game changer.
As we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that this strategy challenges the traditional way of thinking about retirement.
It's not just about saving, it's about being smart
It's about using the right tools.
to reach your goals.
Exactly. And I think the biggest takeaway is
Knowledge is power.
knowing your options gives you control.
The more you understand about these strategies,
The better decisions you can make.
decisions that work for you and your goals.
We've covered a lot today.
We talked about how the policy loan provision works,
The good and the bad of this strategy.
picking the right policy,
Finding the right agent.
and making it all work in the long run.
It's a lot to digest, but this is just the beginning.
We've given you the foundation.
Now it's up to you to take the next step.
If you're interested in seeing if this could work for you,
Talk to a financial advisor.
someone who specializes in this kind of life insurance planning,
They can answer your questions.
and walk you through the whole process.
And as you go on this journey, remember,
Keep an open mind.
ask questions,
Be willing to learn.
because the financial world is always changing.
There are always new opportunities out there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into tax-free retirement through life insurance.
We hope you learned something new.
And feel empowered to take control of your financial future.